What's up, guys? We are back with another Mythic Legions Reinforcements review, and we're taking a look at the big boy in this wave. Maybe the one that is the odd man out, I suppose, when it comes to these figures, because everything thus far has been a standard, normal-style Legion Builder figure. This, however, is an Ogre scale Legion Builder. So we've got an ORC Ogre scale Legion Builder 2, which will give folks, if you missed that first one way back when, I don't even remember at this point, you can get this guy. But then he's also got the updated Archimedes head sculpt in green, which I'm pretty excited about in general. Now, he of course comes in different style packaging because, well, he's big. So you got him here in our standard Ogre style box, figure in the window, and then you've got artwork that wraps around from the front to the back, across the spines, the whole 9 yards. A lot of Nate Barch artwork here. Faction card on one spine, bio on the other, and then the back gives you our standard write-up as well as our cross-sell. So yeah, let's do it. Let's pull this guy out and take a look. And here we go. Out of the package, our Mythic Legions Reinforcements 2, Ogre Legion Builder 2. So this is the new version, we'll say, of the Ogre Legion Builder that came out in the Siege at Bjorngar wave. That wave had Bolthor the Tower, had Kurzog, and it had the Orc Ogre Legion Builder. And this guy is that exact same figure, same everything really, just with an alternate head sculpt this time around that utilizes the head from the Cyclops Archimedes. So if you want the option, you now have a green Cyclops to go along with your gray Cyclops, or you can just use this as that original figure because he includes the base head as well. Through and through, basically the exact same figure. So if you know what's going on with ogres, you know what's going on here. But for the uninitiated, let's run through articulation, see what he can do, see how he moves around. Now he's essentially a 1.0 figure, just bigger. The only real difference is the hips on these guys in terms of just how they're put together, but functionality is the same. So we've got a head that can look up pretty good. He can't really look down too much, just a little. You got your tilt slightly side to side, got rotation. Arms out at the shoulders, nice ratchets in there, swivel. We've got our single jointed 90-degree swiveling elbow. You've got hinges and rotation at the wrist. I would say that the gauntlets swivel, but because they do a little bit, but they're not a separate piece. Those are an overlay and they are removable / swappable. We've got our single piece torso here, so he goes side to side. You've got your rotation down here, and then he does crunch forward really, really nicely. It's really good on these guys. It's always been one of my favorite parts of these, just by virtue of how much they can move. It can get a little gappy, though, depending on how you're looking at him. Legs go out about this far, and these guys, just for the sake of showing, they do have that newer style ball socket hip. So the original ogres had kind of a QC-ish issue where they had male-female pegs that would fit in between the crotch, and a lot of people were just like shearing it apart, being a little bit too forceful with it because it did not like being roughed around. So this has been changed up, and all ogres since at least Decebalus in Ilithia have had these going forward. I know some Archimedes got produced that have those as well. They kick forward. Not really anything backwards because he has a butt plate back there. You've got your thigh twist, single jointed swiveling knee, of course, and then ankles. You've got swivel at the top, you've got rocker, and you've got hinges down here as well. Pretty decent stuff all around. But again, if you're familiar with 1.0 construction and articulation, you know exactly what to expect with these big guys too. Now, as far as the overall look and feel on this big guy, there is, and there isn't, I suppose, a lot to talk about because I have this figure before. I have every bit of this figure before. But if you're not familiar with these, this is a whole different ballgame. It's still very much just like a Mythic Legions 1.0 figure in a lot of ways, but it's obviously much bigger. And, of course, this is a reinforcements figure, and it's the version 2. So it's almost the same as that first figure. And, let's just go ahead and bring it in just to do it. So this is what the original one looks like, and the only real difference between these two is this head sculpt, but we still get this one also. So you're going to have the makings of that very original one. And I feel like, just in general, everything is super, super, super close here. So the armor is all the same. The color looks very, very consistent as well. But more specifically, the green is very close. And I'm not sure if it's even close in the sense that it's a minute difference. It might be exactly the same. I'm struggling to notice any real difference between the two. And even beyond that, there is shading on these guys, like specifically on, some of the musculature on the arms and then the chest. And it seems to be very close as well in just how much is applied and also where it's been applied. So if you don't have the original one, there's really no reason to even go backwards. It's just get this guy and then you'll have him. There's not really anything different here. It's all exactly the same thing. So that's really cool. You know, it's a different way to get this guy back out. But for someone like me who already, obviously, has that first one, this head sculpt is enough to bring me back in and make me want more of these guys. Not that I wouldn't have bought him if I had the chance again anyway. I would have gotten another one just to get another. But I love that head sculpt, and I really like the Ogre scale figures. You know, there's something a little bit different in terms of size, so they add a little bit of depth. Well, depth is the wrong word, but it adds another dimension to your shelf when it comes to displaying these guys alongside standard Legions. So let's do that as well. Let's just showcase how big these guys actually are. So here is a standard 1.0 figure, and you can see they're not ultra massive figures, but they are head and shoulders above a regular Mythic Legions figure. They're basically bigger than everything but the trolls, realistically speaking. So they're going to dwarf a lot of your regular figures, and they're going to come in as, like, you know, those heavy bruisers that you would have on your shelf to really lay siege to the enemy, basically. But I really like these guys. They move well, and they look just as good, if that makes any sense. I love the armor on them, and these are one of those kind of figures that they would really benefit from the so-called painting of the dots, as they say, where you want to go in and just, you know, hit those little things with some paint if you want to try to customize them and bring out some of the insane amount of detail that's in this armor. There's a lot of little bits and bobs all over the armor that can easily be brought out with a little touch of paint, but it looks good on its own, and it definitely looks, you know, very, I don't know, warlike, if that makes any sense. Like, this is something that you would see this big guy crashing into a bunch of guys wearing this. The armor is removable. The top is removable, so it'll just pop off. The gauntlets are removable as well. You just take the hands off. The belt is technically removable, but you don't have anything to cover the you know, inner workings down there. And then the shin guards are the shins, so those don't really want to come off. But they do look really good, and if you wanted a bare chest, you can do that as well. He does have some soft goods, so you've got a little bit of fur to cover those ogre bits down there, so you don't see his ogre junk or whatever like that. So he's got that. I do like that. It just adds a little bit of texture to him, if that makes any sense. It breaks him up a little bit and kind of puffs that area up. I guess that's a weird way to say that, but it is fur. And then he does, of course, have, you know, this really awesome head sculpt. This is probably my second favorite head sculpt when it comes to the ogres. Bolthor is usually my favorite of the bunch, but I really like the Archimedes head, and it's really cool to see it in a different color. It's nice to go that route with this and get us a different way to display this guy. Tons of sculpt up there. Those tusks that come out look great. All of the folds and wrinkles around that, you know, Cyclopean eye looks fantastic. And then the eye itself is really well done too. Very clean, very crisp, and a nice hit of color to break up this overwhelming sea of green and gray. So just a really cool looking figure all around. And again, it's going to add a lot of size to your display. Now, as far as accessories goes, our ogre does have a handful of things. To start with, we do get an extra head sculpt. Again, like I mentioned, he does include everything to basically make him that original ogre Legion builder, which of course means changing out that head sculpt. So this is the helmeted head with a different set of tusks popping out. So if you don't like Cyclops, or if you feel the need that you just have to have ogres with two eyes or a helmet, this is what you've got here. I really like this one. I'll probably err on the side of using the Cyclops head just by virtue of having, you know, different ones. But I really like this head sculpt. It's pretty hardcore looking, so I'm happy with that. We do get some swappable bracers. These aren't my favorite aspect of this because I don't think these are the better bracers. I think these are much cooler by comparison. But if you want something a little more streamlined, these just pop right off. You could have him bare-armed if you wanted. These are the bracers that, like, Bolthor uses those. Same kind of thing, though, that same sort of gray. So if you want to paint him up, you can do that also. And then this guy also includes kind of the standard fare when it comes to ogre weaponry. So just like there's basically one major set of armor, there's one major set of weapons for these guys. So to start with, we do get the big four-sided, four-bladed kind of mace weapon. And these things are modular to a degree, so like you can take this part off. And if you wanted to make this thing absolutely enormous, you know, you can start popping this piece, and this is like an extension. And you can have it be this crazy massive thing for whatever reason. If you wanted to have something like that, I feel like that's a little excessive. But you've got the option. And we've also got the little axe here, which does the same thing as well. So if you wanted to make the mace smaller, you've got the smaller piece there. And if you wanted to make this longer, you could do that. Or you could pop this one on to this and make it slightly longer. So you've got a couple options in terms of how you part this out. This is done up in a slightly more silver metallic paint versus the more gunmetal-y color. But again, just like with the rest of the Legion Builder aesthetic here, a lot of options for customizing if you decided you want to paint those up. So not a ton of stuff really, but basically everything, the standard array of accessories that any other Ogre figure would come with. So overall, this is a really solid figure. I've been a big fan of the Ogres since they came out. It was like the main draw for that Siege of Bjorngar wave, just because they are similar, but also so different from the regular 1.0 figures. But it's a really awesome figure. Great paint, great sculpt, tons of customization options. You know, I've said it before that that's not necessarily my thing. I will do that from time to time, and I feel like this guy's going to be one that I actually do it, because I want to try to see what I can pull out of that armor. I know what is possible based on Bolthor and Kurzog, but I want to see what I can do with it, and it's kind of ripe for the picking. So this guy is really great if you want to go down that road. It's also a really good way to add some dimension and different sizing on your Legion shelf. And then again, if you already have that first one, this is a great way to get a second one and change him up just enough with that head sculpt so you don't have just a sea of the same guy over and over and over again. So that's going to do it for this look at the Mythic Legions Reinforcements 2 Ogre Legion Builder 2. Let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.